Since Alex Pretti was shot and killed by federal officials, there's been a lot of debate and discussion and controversy over what this incident really was. Well, we know from Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem what she says it is. Let's take a listen.
When you perpetuate violence against a government because of ideological reasons and for reasons to resist and perpetuate violence, that is the definition of domestic terrorism. This individual who came with weapons and ammunition to stop a law enforcement operation of federal law enforcement officers committed an act of domestic terrorism. That's the facts.
That's the facts, says Kristi Noem, that Alex Pretti was a domestic terrorist because he tussled with the police for ideological reasons, or however she phrased it there. Well, I'm here to tell you today that this is complete BS. It's shameful. It's immoral. It's unprofessional. This is exactly what government officials and so many in media did to anybody who was at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. They said they were domestic terrorists, they were insurrectionists, as a way to justify taking away their rights, due process, and all the rest. Let's recall a little bit of what that sounded like. This sounds just like Kristi Noem to me. Here's the head of the FBI.
As you noted, Mr. Chairman, January 6th was not an isolated event. The problem of domestic terrorism has been metastasizing across the country for a long time now.
Don't dare call them protesters. They were a riotous mob.
Protesters, they were protesters.
Insurrectionists, domestic terrorists.
Who ordered essentially a terrorist attack on the Capitol of the United States.
Terrorism. That's the FBI director. That's the words we should be using. January 6th was an act of domestic terrorism incited by Donald Trump. His supporters who attack the Capitol are terrorists. It's 2 + 2 = 4 stuff. Like Ashley Babbitt, all those who attack the Capitol are terrorists because the FBI director has said it was an act of terrorism.
So the FBI director said it was an act of terrorism, therefore it must be an act of terrorism because the official said so. That's exactly what Kristi Noem and others, and the administration's backed off this domestic terrorism thing a little bit, and that's good for them, and I hope that continues. But Kristi Noem and so many right-wing influencers are like, domestic terrorists, domestic terrorists. It is no different than what people did to the January 6ers, who got sentences far longer than they should have. The due process rights were taken away and not obeyed in the way they should be. They suffered because they were put in this separate category that they were domestic terrorists. And that's exactly what's going on right now. Alex Pretti wasn't just a protester, an armed protester, a legally armed protester who mixed it up with police and got shot. No, they're going to say he's a domestic terrorist to forgive or justify what they did to this man. That's awful. Anybody that watched it honestly knows that something else happened other than domestic terrorism. Listen to what Rand Paul said, and he's spot on about what really happened for anybody who's intellectually honest and watched the video.
The government tells them, well, he was assaulting the police officers. Nobody with any objectivity watches that video and believes that's what's happening. As the man retreats, with each altercation, he retreats, and then the woman is thrown violently to the ground. He's thrown to the ground. No American believes that he was assaulting the officers. In fact, the opposite appears to be true. The intimation, or actually the explicit call to say you don't have a Second Amendment right to carry arms in a protest really flies in the face of most of our Second Amendment community. I can tell you I've been to dozens and dozens of rallies and or protests where people are visibly armed or have concealed carry. An assault, which most people don't believe it is, but if that is assault, then people need to know that if you video someone, you could be shot.
And people would need to know that if that was what was actually how it is, but that's not how it is. They're calling Alex Pretti a domestic terrorist to justify what authorities did to him, and it's wrong. It's just as wrong as when J6ers were all lumped together as domestic terrorists to take away their rights. Ashley Babbitt, you heard that clip on MSNBC. They said she was a domestic terrorist. She was a protester. Whatever she was doing that day, she did not deserve to lose her life. Alex Pretti did not deserve to lose his life, and calling either domestic terrorist to justify what the state did to them, I think is quite shameful. And they're real human beings. Ashley Babbitt, we've heard from her friends and family. Did she have political opinions? Yes. Did she deserve to get executed for them? No. Here's a tweet from a Catholic priest who worked with Alex Pretti, the man who was shot and killed by federal agents in Minnesota. And this priest said he was known for his kindness and gentleness. That sounds a lot different than domestic terrorists, which is what they're doing. The people I'm seeing on the right, whether it's Kristi Noem or all these influencers or all these tough guys on X or Twitter who are insisting that Petri was a domestic terrorist and got what he deserved, first of all, they're making awful Second Amendment arguments. They're sounding like leftist gun control people. But most importantly, those people who are calling Alex Petri a domestic terrorist, those on the right sound like Liz Cheney calling J6ers domestic terrorists. They sound like Adam Kinzinger calling J6ers domestic terrorists. They sound like Nancy Pelosi. And all of those people who made this mythology out of January 6th as this grand insurrection so they could label these people as something they were not to take away their rights. That's what they're doing to try to justify Alex Petri's death right now. It's shameful, it's wrong, and I see no difference between Liz Cheney calling J6ers domestic terrorists and people on the right saying the same about Alex Petri now. It's shameful, you're wrong, and you're all the same people.